You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you're a helping professional in any way, diversity in clinical practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself. And if you're encouraged by it as well, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world, one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on unmasking white affirmative action. Now, many people are reacting to recent comments made by music mogul Pharrell Williams while speaking at a live crowd at the annual Black Ambition Demo Day. During his comments, he mentions how he dislikes politics because it only fosters division among people. Now, as someone who also dislikes demonizing opponents that often comes with taking sides on significant issues, I am a fan of a healthier way of governing and relating to other people. That being said, the most controversial part of his comments came when he expressed his opinion that the dismantling of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion programs and initiatives shouldn't matter because, well, you shouldn't want the job because you're Black, but rather you should want it because you're the best at what you do. Now, some who hear this say, exactly, stop wanting unearned affirmative action handouts just because of your skin color. And yet still others say, not only is DEI not about unearned handouts, but it's interesting how affirmative action only seems to be a problem when it benefits Black people. And this is where, for some, mouths drop in confusion as if they're trying to be gaslit by this preposterous suggestion that not only is affirmative action not unfair and all bad, but that it isn't about being all Black. It's a Black thing. Like it or not, everybody knows that, right? Now, although I have spoken about this misunderstanding previously, I wanted to offer an enhanced response influenced by these most recent comments, as they shed light on the not often enough discussed reality of white affirmative action. Reality number one. Affirmative action isn't about unearned handouts. Despite what many people have expressed, the goal of affirmative action is not to give resources and opportunities to those who have not earned them. Instead, the goal is to acknowledge that due to intentional as well as unintentional efforts over many years, systemic and institutional practices have long been shown to unfairly exclude those who are not in the majority. Simple phrases just like, that's just not the way we do things around here, have been weaponized to reinforce certain ways of doing things over other ways of doing things, so much so that it takes on a life of its own, such that it's not just how things are typically done, but who typically does them and where those people typically come from, and so on and so on. By this logic, welcoming new people from different cultural backgrounds could be seen as a judgment on how things have been done, as in, You must think there's something wrong with who we are and how we do things if you think we need to welcome new people and new ways of doing things and seeing things. But not only that, welcoming new people from different cultural backgrounds could thus be seen as a threat, for they will inevitably want to add their own contributions and help. But that would mean change, and that's uncomfortable. So you understand why we have to not give you the chance, right? To help, conclusions are often drawn about those who do things differently, suggesting that, well, they didn't take the same steps to get to where we are. Let's make it a requirement that you have to not only be able to do the job, but you must show that you took the same steps to gain that competence, showing that you know how to do it, ignoring the fact that these steps often cost money or require other resources that historically have not been available to certain groups, making it easier to say, well, we're not trying to be exclusive. You just weren't qualified, and we want the qualified candidates. Enter affirmative action, which again is not about unqualified people getting a job, but about requiring organizations to look outside of their typical box or even typical path, which was never an accurate measure of competence and ability in the first place, and be open to seeing different candidates with similar competence but obtained in different ways. And while different, may be able to help you maintain the company's mission and values, but offer new and creative ways to achieve those companies' expressed goals. Not change for change's sake as if something is wrong, but a new way, an enhanced way to help everyone grow. That's affirmative action, strongly encouraging you to see outside of the norm. Which leads nicely to reality number two. Affirmative action has benefited many under acknowledged and underrepresented groups beyond Black people. Sure, Black people have been the social face of affirmative action, but the motivation to help unseen and excluded groups be seen and have a fair chance has led to affirmative action type programs and initiatives for a wide variety of minority and women owned businesses of various kinds beyond Black people. This is not because these groups are also better because of their skin color or their gender. No, neither. But because they have historically been excluded as minority groups, and thus incentive is needed to bring attention to not only their competence, but also their awesomeness among the midst of awesomeness of various forms all around and available to different groups. And by the way, those who have worried about this acknowledgement of often underseen contributions would be an unnecessary, burdensome, detrimentally sacrificial effort to help others in their eyes. Those have been shown to be worrying about the wrong thing. For studies have shown that businesses who embrace healthy affirmative action programs see increase in overall revenue as well as workplace morale. And educational institutions who embrace healthy affirmative action practices see increases in graduation rates, leading to better long term outcomes and wages. Everyone wins. And speaking of everyone winning, reality three is this: white affirmative action is real. Not only is affirmative action not automatically bad, nor is it about unearned handouts or unqualified individuals, nor is it only about Black people, but affirmative action is also benefits those who identify as white as well. Now, before you say, take that back, Lambers, feeling insulted by being associated with something only seen negatively by many, take a moment to look back in history and see how the GI Bill was a program that offered benefits to veterans to help them access housing loans, education opportunities, and other benefits, not because they were better than non veterans, but because their unique position, having spent time in the service, led to their not being able to take the same path to education or home ownership as others. The goal was less of a handout to avoid earning the work, but assistance overcoming an unearned barrier in hopes that they would take that support and run with it and thrive. Most importantly, while on paper this was open to all veterans, segregation contributed to the prevention of Black veterans who also served their country from benefiting from this essentially white affirmative action effort, or even the historical and present reality of legacy based admissions in universities or nepotism in corporate environments. These are situations where the historically intentional preferential treatment of white potential students and employees over others based on race can now be maintained under the guise of race free family legacy benefits offered in appreciation for those who came before. And while this sounds nice and race-free, it ignores the reality that many people and differently qualified students who are capable in other ways don't have the luxury of legacy benefits because of the horrible race influence, historical events, and practices that prevented such. The challenge now is avoiding the trap of concluding that, well, if they weren't qualified, or if they were really qualified, then it would be clear to everyone. For in reality, it is clear to everyone who is willing to see it. At the end of the day, this is where Pharrell Williams' comments fall short. For I hear his intention. I, too, would rather not be valued due to my skin color and instead be valued because of the awesome contribution I can offer. The problem with that is that there are many in positions of power and influence who refuse to see my awesomeness and the awesomeness of many others who are awesome in a variety of ways. Yes, encourage people to be their best and even the best. But don't forget that many would rather maintain what they know and what they're familiar with, even if they know that it is not the best it could be, all to maintain their comfort, the comfort that comes from sameness, the comfort that comes from the known rather than the unknown. Hence, why there are still efforts to maintain DEI programs and initiatives for underrepresented groups, not to provide unearned preferential treatment or to insult people of color by suggesting that they should strive not to be their best, but instead to exploit their skin color. Instead, to not only show your awesomeness, but also help shine a light on the awesomeness of others, including those who look like you as well as those who don't look like you. With all this being said, my hope for you is that you will be able to see the unfortunate historical reality, the need that still remains despite how much progress has been made, and help create a world where affirmative action is indeed no longer needed. Not because this is misunderstood as being unfair and promoting lack of qualifications, but because everyone has truly been seen for who they are and what they can provide, no matter the similarities or differences. Until that day comes, affirmative action and other similar programs will remain beneficial, not to enable, but to bridge an unearned gap until the gap no longer exists. And if you want to fight against something, fight against that. Fight against the perception gap and help everyone be seen for who they are, one opportunity at a time. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Dude podcast. If you'd like me to address any pressing diversity-related question that you have based on this podcast or any other topic that your organization may need a shame-free or empowering guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at lambertsfisher.com. And if you find this podcast message beneficial, positive, and insightful, then be sure to like and subscribe so I'll know which topics you'd like me to share more about in future podcasts. And if you know of anyone else who could benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic, have them send this link to them so that they can be beneficial as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share with someone else that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
I drew you this year.
Oh, I love scratch games. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, Tabitha.
They're so sparkly.
Festive, right?
You know it's a good gift when it's hard to let it go.
Kinda wish I drew myself.
Kind of glad you didn't.
Holiday scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery are great to give and even better to get.
So thoughtful.
I know.
You've been putting it off and time is running out. You've got just a few weeks left to apply for the Minnesota Promise Act grants. The state has more than 60 million with an M, dollars to help small businesses in greater Minnesota and parts of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Now, hurry up and go to mnpromiseact.org to fill out the application. And listen, if you need help getting it completed, don't trip. They've got trained pros who can guide you through it. Make an appointment to get started today.